Now, lesson 2 is called Why Are We So Poorly Evolved to Deal with Climate Change? And the idea is, it's starting to think about some of the brain biases and the psychology behind the global or societal approach to climate change. Now, the starter for this, in the first few slides, is using Donald Trump and some of the things he said as a bit of a hook. So there's a link here to a video which cuts together lots of his quotes about hurricanes. And then there's a Trump or fake news looking at some of the quotes, so deciding whether Trump said this or not. And each of these is associated with climate change. And to go with this, there's an information sheet here for teachers, which includes a little bit more detail, explaining when that quote was, what it was associated with. So it could be that you pick and choose some of these quotes, focus on some of them more than others. So that's the hook for the lesson. The idea is then to move on from that, thinking about Trump's approach to climate change and the way some of the language he's used, to then say, well, actually, there's 98% scientific consensus. Why then does climate change denial still exist? So posing the question to the students, get them to think up some ideas of why people might still deny it. What is it? What are some of the reasons? And then thinking about how we as humans have evolved, and is it maybe that some of the reasons are to do with evolutionary hangovers. So the next activity is thinking about reading a newspaper article about brain biases and how they might prevent us from climate action. And for that activity, there is an extract of this BBC news piece, and to go along with that is a newspaper article analysis worksheet. And the idea is that they read it multiple times, and each time they read the article, they're looking for different things. So the first time they read it, they're looking for words they don't understand, that they might underline, and then they look for replacement words. So they annotate the sheet and swap the words for words they do understand. They then look to summarise it and key bullet points, and then they add some sort of personal illustration. So what is it that they think, can they think of an example from their own lives that actually illustrates the idea that's being discussed? And then the second time they read it, when they reread it again, they're thinking about summarising it into one sentence and looking at the key evidence. What is it that this article brings that in terms of evidence? The idea is then that we're summarising some of the key reasons for inaction and deciding which one might be more or less influential. So some sort of decision making or judgment in terms of which they think is the most important, which of these reasons is causing us to not act.